Hello and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the Today I Messed Up subreddit. Our first story is by Jory. Today I messed up by getting caught by my wife about my lawn mowing scheme. Let me preface this by saying that I really enjoy mowing the lawn. My wife and I bought our house 2 years ago, and ever since, mowing the lawn has just brought out this peace inside me. So much so that I sold our riding lawnmower and bought a push mower. There is something so calm and relaxing about mowing at about 6:30 p.m. on a summer day. The sound of the mower, the smell of the cut grass, and overall, the world around me. Much of it reminds me of my kid days riding our bikes around in the neighborhood on summer evenings. Sometimes I listen to a podcast or music, but mostly it's just taking in the sounds of the outside. I like it so much that I will literally mow every 3 days, even if the grass barely needs a centimeter taken off the top. I will mow. My wife, however, thinks this is ridiculous. She thinks more than once every 7 to 10 days is absurd. She may be right, but it's not like I'm asking for much, as it takes a whole 90 minutes to push mow the entire yard. I'm essentially taking 3 to 3.5 hours a week of Zen time. I noticed over time as we would come home during the day, her way of gauging whether the lawn needed to be mowed was the length in the ditch at the mailbox. This is an area I tend to actually skip mowing, and keep this particular area on a 1 to 1.5 week trim cycle, because it is kind of a pain in the butt spot. And we are on a country road, so it isn't exactly a curb appeal factor. After noticing this, I started raising the deck height on the mower to keep the grass higher in that spot, and sure enough, she would keep saying how the grass would need to be mowed, which means I was good to go as usual on my 3-day mow cycle. This went well for 2 years, until last night at dinner with friends. Drinks were flowing, laughs were being had, and our friends brought up mowing. The girls had this convo about men and their toys, yada yada, and during the laughs I blurted out to the male friend, "Just do what I do and purposely make an area seem longer than it is," which was met with raucous laughter from all of us, except my wife. After about 10 seconds of laughter, I felt this intense heat on the right side of my face. It's a very familiar heat, very distinct. Once I calmed down from laughing, it set in instantly what I just said. The heat I was feeling was the indescribable fury of her staring a hole through me. It was a very quiet night, and so far, a quiet morning. Our next story is by Speech is an Experiment. Today I messed up by not knowing how white my hair really was. I, 37 male, started getting white hair when I was a teenager. I started growing my hair out 2 years ago, so now I have nearly shoulder-length curly hair with white curls throughout. I love it. My wife loves it. Life is good. Until last night, when I flew too close to the sun. My wife was dyeing a couple tips of our daughter's hair pink and blue. My wife said to her, "We should dye Dad's hair next." My daughter replied, "Boys can't dye their hair." So after showing her some music videos of songs she likes, Time Bomb by Rancid with Lars' bright red mohawk, and Josie by Blink-182, with Tom's bleached hair and Mark's purple hair, I told her I would dye my white curls either blue or pink, and the choice was up to her. She picked blue. My hair is otherwise very dark, so I figure it will only show up on the white hair. My wife has claimed in the past that dye doesn't adhere to white hair as well, so I figured no harm in coating my whole head. How much is it going to show up anyway? This is the mess up. So I wait the 30 minutes. My wife takes my daughter upstairs to rinse her hair out, and I hop in the downstairs shower. A lot of dye comes out in the shower, and I think I'm pretty clever. I never dyed my hair before, and having a couple blue streaks amidst the curls is going to look pretty cool. I get out of the shower, dry my hair off, and look in the mirror. My head is completely blue. I go upstairs where my wife is bathing my kid. So 2 things. 1, I think I have more white hair than I first thought. My wife says, "Yeah, I could have told you that." And second, you may have been wrong about how well dye works on white hair. They had a good laugh about all of this. Now, I have nothing against dyed hair, and I work in a job where it won't matter alongside people who wouldn't think anything of it after the initial laughing subsides. However, I'm a 37-year-old dad who has never had any dye in my hair. Never mind nearly shoulder-length blue hair. I look so foolish. Our next story is by Bento Sento. Today I messed up by visiting a Japanese bathhouse. Okay, so this happened a fair few years ago, but still haunts me. Back in 2017, I was in my final year of university and got the opportunity to spend 5 weeks in Tokyo for an exchange/observership. One of the items on my bucket list was to visit a sento, traditional indoor Japanese bathhouse. I wanted to go somewhere a bit less touristy, and luckily there was a place only a few blocks from where I was staying, like 45 minutes out of the central city. Not wanting to make an idiot of myself, I did some research beforehand regarding what to expect and how to act. One thing mentioned was that you have to wash yourself before you hop in the pool. I didn't have a travel bottle of soap or body wash, but I read that you can buy it at most places, and if not, then it will often be supplied. When I got there, I quickly realized no one spoke English, and although I managed to pay for my entry, I couldn't communicate re soap, nor could I see any for purchase behind the counter. I assumed there would be some in the actual bathing area, so I stripped down naked in the changing room, put my clothes in a locker, and proceeded into the actual bathing room. On the left-hand side of the room were like 15 or so washing stations. To the right was the big pool. There were a few old men sitting, well, more like squatting, on tiny footstool things washing themselves. I was the only non-Japanese person there, and alas, there was no soap in sight. Then I spied just to the left of the entrance, on a table, a small woven basket with like 7 bars of soap in it. This was where I made my big screw up. I assumed that this was the communal soap basket. I grabbed a bar of soap and walked over to one of the washing stations to get to business. One of the old Japanese guys saw me doing this and started glaring at me and muttering something under his breath. This would have been the time to return the soap to the basket and call it a day. But I'm a bloody idiot, so that didn't happen. Shortly after, another old Japanese man gets out of the bath, walks over to the table, picks up the basket of soap, exchanges words with the guy who glared at me, and proceeds to also start glaring at me and saying something what seemed to be a pretty angry tone. This is when I realized with horror that the basket was in fact his, and I had just stolen one of his bars of soap. By this point I had already lathered myself up, however, so handing the soap back to him clearly wasn't an option. I awkwardly tried to apologize, but could see it wasn't well received. I didn't see any other option except to finish washing myself. But the next issue was that I had nowhere to put the soap. I didn't have a toiletries bag with me, and there were no rubbish bins anywhere. So I just sat there, red-faced, completely naked, dying a million deaths inside, continuously rubbing soap on myself and breaking it up/disintegrating it into small enough chunks that it would go down the drain. I'm sure the Japanese men continued glaring and cursing at me, but I didn't make any further eye contact with them, so can't be completely sure. After this ordeal was over, I rinsed myself off, got up, and entered the bath. The water was incredibly hot, however, and this, alongside the shame and embarrassment washing over me, made for a thoroughly unenjoyable experience. I only stayed in there for like 5 minutes before slinking out, back to the safety of my touristy accommodation. Our next story is by It's Your Boy, Tom Tota. Today I messed up by falling asleep in the shower and flooding the hotel. I am a 17-year-old student from the Netherlands, and I'm on a 5-day trip to Rome with school. Everything was great. I was exploring the city with my friends, eating out every day and just having a lot of fun. Yesterday, me and my friends decided to play some drinking games and get a little screwed up. It was a fun night, but I was irresponsible and drank way too much. When we went back to our room, I got quite sick. I was drunk and had to throw up, and I was dizzy and could barely stand. I decided to get into the shower to clean myself up and maybe sober up a little. But I fell asleep. For 4 hours. Nobody noticed that I was still in the shower until someone from a different room walked into the hallway and noticed that the floor was flooded. They saw that the water was coming from our room and quickly woke everyone up. I got out of the shower still feeling awful and found that the bathroom floor was ankle deep in water. I entered our room and found that it was very flooded too. The water also leaked down and flooded the bar downstairs and caused a lot of damage to the cellar. Me, my teachers, classmates, students from different classes were all mopping up the floor with towels and emptying them into everything that could take water: sinks, toilets, showers, etc. After at least an hour of mopping the floor like that, the floors were dry. But the damage was done. Door frames are curling, floors and ceiling are screwed, and everyone knows about it. My teachers are telling me not to worry and that insurance will cover the damages. My feeling of guilt is immeasurable. My teachers and fellow students having to clean up my mess at 4:30 in the morning. My teachers having to deal with insurance, and the hotel and school. And I am terrified of having to deal with my parents and my reputation at school. I am very lucky that we didn't get kicked out of the hotel, and hope that this will just be forgotten. It probably won't. Our last story is by Past Prayling. Today I messed up by wearing transparent pants to a business meeting. Yesterday I screwed up by wearing see-through pants to a business meeting. It was one of those mornings when everything that could go wrong went wrong. I had just arrived after an overnight flight for an important business trip with colleagues and was already exhausted. We were meeting with important clients in their city, and I was determined to make a great impression. I woke up late, spilled coffee on my shirt, and had to rush through my morning routine in the hotel. In my haste, I grabbed what I thought were my reliable black dress pants, only to find out later that they were not. Arriving at the client's office, I felt a bit uneasy. My co-workers were giving me strange looks, but I brushed it off as paranoia. The big meeting with the new clients was about to start, and I was the one presenting. I walked into the conference room and set up my laptop and began my presentation, trying to ignore the odd expressions and hushed whispers around me. About halfway through my pitch, I noticed one of the clients whispering to my boss, who then discreetly glanced down at my lower half. Panic started to creep in. What was wrong? Had I missed a stain or something? I continued talking, trying to maintain my composure. Then it happened. One of my colleagues, with a look of sympathetic horror, slipped me a jacket and whispered, "You might want to cover up." Confused, I took the jacket and tied it around my waist, finishing the presentation while desperately wanting to know what was going on. After the meeting, I rushed to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. To my utter embarrassment, I realized that my pants, under the bright conference room lights, were completely transparent. My choice of brightly colored underwear that day made the situation even worse. I wanted to disappear into the floor. The clients were surprisingly understanding, and my boss tried to laugh it off, but the damage was done. I spent the rest of the day avoiding eye contact and praying for the ground to swallow me whole. Okay, I enjoyed those quite a lot. You really have to appreciate people that are able to either laugh at themselves or admit their mistakes. It's a valuable skill to have. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers!